visionaries from across the country had a dream to see every visually impaired person educated, included, and empowered both in urban and rural India. It was this dream that led to the formation of the All India Confederation of the Blind with modest means and lofty goals. Started with a meager sum of 300 rupees and a small rented room, today we have a sprawling campus at Rohini, Delhi, a spacious and state-of-the-art special school for the blind in Gurgaon, and a working premises in Hyderabad along with 25 organizations of the visually impaired from all over the country affiliated to AICB, as well as an annual budget of nearly 4 crores. Over the last 42 years, AICB, a self-help national organization of the blind, has emerged as an organization with a difference, where the visually impaired are not just passive recipients but active participants as professionals, policy makers, and significant contributors to the society. The manifold activities of the organization range from providing educational facilities to the blind, running multifaceted vocational training programs, various advocacy initiatives to combat discrimination against the visually impaired, special programs to empower visually impaired women, and facilitating suitable employment opportunities by touching the lives of the most neglected among the blind in the villages through community-based rehabilitation programs with emphasis on self-employment and a life of dignity. The AICB Captain Chandan Lal Residential Special School for the Blind, Gurugram, provides free education to more than 100 visually impaired girls and boys and has been designed as a model center of education where overall development of children is encouraged through their participation in various academic and extracurricular activities such as yoga, sports, cultural and recreational activities. The key to unlocking the treasures of such learning, knowledge and joy lies in learning Braille. The adept use of a recent high-tech Braille aid called the Orbit 20 Reader empowers young children as young as 10-year-old who use it with wonderful dexterity. The Innovative Resource Center as well as the unique science laboratory of the school contain specialized devices to facilitate the education of the blind.
Mars, Jupiter, Saturn.
In geography classes, the tactile teaching methodology brings insight into knowledge through the fingertips of the students, lightly skimming the combination of 6 dots. In a scenario when there is an acute scarcity of Braille books for the visually impaired, AICB has brought about a sea change by setting up a state-of-the-art computerized Braille press capable of producing more than 40,000 Braille pages per day, which are provided to more than 100 schools, central libraries, and others across the country. The press also regularly brings out several sought-after Braille magazines. Accessibility to print material is also provided to the blind through high-tech scanning and reading technology. This initiative has been recognized by the Government of India by conferring the National Award for the Best Braille Press not once but twice in 2009 and 2012. A number of need-based training programs have enabled hundreds of visually impaired persons to secure employment in government, public and private sectors. While our oldest stenography training program empowers those unable to pursue education beyond class 12, the basic and advanced computer training programs serve those with higher skills and professional goals. To address the specific problems of those who lose their sight later in life, AICB runs a crisis management unit where required skills are imparted to empower them to return to life and livelihood as before. Through high-value scholarships and free-of-cost residential facilities offered by AICB, thousands of visually impaired girls have obtained higher education and livelihood. Training programs and rehabilitation activities are also conducted for their all-round development. Creating a just and equitable society by combating all forms of discrimination against the visually impaired and helping them obtain their rights is at the core of AICB's advocacy initiatives. Through public interest litigations and other forms of judicial activism, networking, and capacity building, we have empowered thousands of blind and low vision persons across the country. Realizing that more than 70% of the visually impaired live in rural areas, mostly in a state of helplessness and poverty, our constant commitment has been to work towards the empowerment of such persons across the country. More than 6,893 visually impaired men and women have been directly or indirectly supported and community sensitization achieved in 4,440 villages of 17 districts. But all this by no means is an easy task. In absence of reliable data, locating such persons in villages proves to be an uphill task. In particular, with support from the Danish Association of the Blind, two most backward districts in Uttar Pradesh, Jalon and Pratapgarh, have been chosen. As we visit Jalon, one of the districts where CBR work is being carried out by AICB, we observe that resistance is faced by our field workers from all around, from the families, communities, and sometimes even from the visually impaired persons whom we target to help. At times, families do not even wish to disclose the presence of a blind member. Our field workers are sometimes perceived as intruders and asked to go back. Most communities and families can hardly believe that visually impaired persons, whom they have virtually written off, can one day not only earn their own livelihood but can also support their families and live a life of dignity. Training is the key to bring about such a transformation, but those living in abject poverty and neglect in villages at times do not have the self-confidence to make this effort. After about 2 months, however, there is a 180-degree turnaround in the scenario when we observe the blind persons, once considered totally incapable, are ready to stand on their own feet with AICB's handholding. We then open their bank accounts and give them a grant of 15,000 rupees as seed money to kickstart their economic activities. Tularam is a live example of the vagaries and fickleness of fate. Due to loss of sight at an early age, his life was full of sorrow and wretchedness. However, he came out of his self-imposed languidness and enthusiastically followed up on the training he received from our organization. Earlier a marginal green pea farmer, our training made him independent. Our seed money facilitated proper irrigation through a sprinkler system, and today he takes adjoining lands on lease and earns in the range of 100,000 rupees annually. Driving through heaps of garbage and refuse, one enters a narrow lane that leads to the brightness of Shabnam store. Initially, our team had a difficult time to convince Shabnam's family to join our free training and rehabilitation program. Now her petty shop has a refrigerator to sell cold drinks, milk, and other perishable items, and reports a sale of over 100,000 rupees of cold drinks this season. Her neighbors and community members are happy to patronize her shop.
हमें तो सामान कहीं से भी लेना है, पैसा देना पड़ेगा। ये हमारे बगल में दुकान है और ये हमारी बिटिया जो बेरोजगार थी, इसको रोजगार मिला है तो हम इनको लेते हैं सामान।
Another visually impaired, empowered woman, Rani, used to depend on her cousins for survival. Everyone in her family had passed away, and hence it was becoming difficult for her to meet daily requirements alone. Our team counseled and motivated her, and today she takes care of herself, even cooking her own meals. The owner of the room she resides in was persuaded by our team to give her permission to use an abandoned ground floor tiny toilet as a petty shop. With the help of AICB, Rani is now a proud shopkeeper and offers relief to many by selling chilled cold drinks from her petty shop, earning a decent amount of 800 rupees to 1000 rupees per day. She has become completely independent and lives a life of self-esteem. Archana, now 32, was once a bubbling, energetic child. But at the age of 10, she was stricken with smallpox and became blind, thereby starting a life of despondency and lack of joy. She remained in this state for several years. Now, after training, she owns goats and is earning good money through goat rearing. Being in a state of extreme poverty, it was becoming difficult for Ram Lakhan to meet even his basic needs. As his family members worked as manual laborers, they could not afford medication for his treatment. With training and required assistance from AICB, Ram Lakhan is now a successful milkman. Today, his buffalo keeping skills ensure that 7 to 8 liters of milk is sold in the village and to the milk collection agencies, and his monthly income is a healthy sum of 6,000 rupees. More importantly, his and his family's nutritional standards have improved with milk, curd, paneer, buttermilk, and ghee now being integral part of their daily consumption. Despite being separate individuals, they all have been victims of discrimination and now share a collective identity in their success and joys. The Ranis, Archanas, Shabnams, Tularams, and Ramlakhans are but symbols of the newly acquired self-worth and confidence in our rehabilitated rural blind and partially sighted persons. Our dedicated team of field workers, project manager, and advocacy officer help them throughout their journey and also ensure the benefits under various government schemes.
ये बहुत अच्छी पहल है आपकी और इससे काफी लोग जो जनपद में हैं ब्लाइंड लोग उनको काफी लाभ मिलेगा और संस्था आपका बहुत अच्छा काम कर रही है। ये तो है, सीबीआर का काम आपने बहुत अच्छी पहल की है।
Not just the lives of the individuals have changed, the attitude of the entire community towards such persons has undergone a huge transformation. Their happiness has prompted them to reach out to others in similar situations, and thus we take our work forward by forming chapters of our beneficiaries in the rural areas. It is a unique attempt through which those who have walked a difficult path now come together to make the journeys of other visually impaired a bit easier. This is real empowerment when the blind in the rural and poverty-stricken areas can take account of their own affairs and make the path smoother for others. Our affiliates located in various parts of the country are a strong link between the chapters in the villages and the AICB headquarters in Delhi. Part of our exercise is to motivate bank officials to support our blind and partially sighted persons. After their initial hesitation, they now feel confident to extend loans for business expansion to our beneficiaries.
आपके एनजीओ से जो लोग आए थे उन्होंने अकाउंट्स के लिए पहले मुझे बोला और लोन्स के लिए बोला, तो पहले मुझे लगा थोड़ा कि मैंने आज तक ये किया नहीं था लोन मैंने ब्लाइंड्स लोगों का, तो पहले एक बार मुझे थोड़ा सा डर भी लगा कि ऐसा ना हो कि ये काम कैसे करेंगे या मेरे जो रीपेमेंट है वो टाइमली रीपे हो पाएगा या नहीं हो पाएगा, तो थोड़ा सा एक डर था। बट मैंने जब पहला किया लोन तो उसके बाद मुझे एक्सपीरियंस काफ़ी अच्छा मिला, मतलब टाइमली उसमें रीपेमेंट आई है और कस्टमर को भी मैंने देखा है कि काम किया है उन्होंने, लोन का जो यूटिलाइजेशन है वो किया है उन्होंने।
As a testimony of its significant contribution to the work for the blind in India, AICB has been conferred 3 national awards from the President of India, and several other prestigious awards have been won by office bearers of the Confederation. The Department of Posts, Government of India, released a special commemorative stamp to mark the Silver Jubilee of AICB in 2005, wherein the then President of India, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, was the chief guest. Despite traversing many milestones, we pledge to forge ahead with even stronger commitment and vitality towards our mission to empower millions of visually challenged persons across India. Come, join us to bring about a transformative change by breaking age-old prejudices against the blind and the low vision.